We doing it? We going? I think we are. We are. We're doing it. We're going. Nice. I should show up at some point. There I am. And here we be. Not bad. Not bad. What am I doing? Oh, I was going to be like, hey, I went live, but I think you guys probably know. You don't know? Okay, hang on. Finally, Feeble no. Finally, I made it online. Or Feeble Moo, depending on whether you like my original spelling. Oh, it has been a long day. Hey, I just texted you. That's exciting. Okay, finding the secret. I've been singing compulsively all day. I was singing a song as I walked home about how I didn't sleep last night, but every time I blinked I had a tiny dream. Door frames move. They just do. You're right, that door frame is a fucking idiot. I'm gonna kill it for you. I don't know how you kill a door frame. I think, I don't know. I'm sure there's some kind of like really funny pun answer for that, but I didn't tee one up or anything. Hi, Jesse. Hey, John, what's up? So, we've had a little bit of a jump. I've had a long couple of days. Now I have an awesome new bracelet. lifematters.org.nz. Hi, Phil. Thank you. It's really soft. Like, it's really nice. Oh my god, your door frame's homophobic? I don't think I'm allowed to do anything about it. I think I have to report to my commanding lesbian, which I guess is you. Life does matter. Sometimes in ways that aren't a lot of fun, but, you know, it doesn't say lifeisfun.org.nz. Although I've got this amazing thing here. No, that's something else. This is one of the depression awareness cards for Kiwi men. It says, I'd come in at night feeling buggered, but I'd look at my day and I hadn't achieved anything. I don't know if you can see that. So, in New Zealand, we have, we say feeling buggered just to mean really tired. It means something very different. Very different. I don't really agree with their definitions, but whatever. Feeling down in response to difficult situations is pretty normal. Thank you. But when life has no joy or pleasure for more than 2 weeks, this could be a sign of depression. It could. Could also be a sign that you're living under late capitalism. You know. And you're not, like, doing any drugs to kind of make yourself forget that. Oh! Right. So, this is the episode where where Malcolm Tucker and the Australian will come into it. This is part 3, Western Massachusetts, 1843. We've skipped forward again a little bit. And we are following... It just says 2 weeks, yeah. Yeah, depression sucks so bad. Like, just living with it every day is like, nuts. Applesauce. I don't know what I'm allowed to say on... Okay, I'm going to try and find the family tree again. I know I posted it somewhere here. I can't find it. Okay, who's Elizabeth's dad? Somebody who's got it in front of them. Because we're picking up with Elizabeth Fear. And, and I think Elizabeth Fear is going to be Malcolm Tucker. Or Sue White, depending on your references. Yeah. And I'm going to, like, add a few things. Maybe just pepper some stuff in. That maybe isn't in the text exactly, but it's just kind of going to be there. So, are we all pretty much ready? 7 minutes in. I have but a humble glass of water. And but a humble black cat staring at me from the floor. So if you guys are ready. Totally ready? Alright. Oh, did we ever figure out who Elizabeth's dad was? I think it's Jonathan, isn't it? No, there's 100 years. Yeah, there's 100-year gap. Right. Hey, Josh, what's up? Okay, so there's a 100-year gap, Western Massachusetts, 1843. And we're going to pick up with Elizabeth Fear, chapter 19. It's too fucking bad the old apple tree died, thought Elizabeth Fear. She was kneeling in her green gardening dress, digging with a trowel in the rich, dark soil. Heavy leather gloves protected her hands. The apple tree had died, and her brother Simon had chopped it down. Now there was a bare patch in the backyard. Elizabeth thought it looked empty and a bit sad. Well, I'll take fucking good care of that, she thought, adjusting her straw bonnet over her long, dark hair. This flower garden will be even prettier than the old tree. I'll fill it with fucking pansies and fucking snapdragons. I'm not quite into the accent yet, but I think it's working. As she worked, she hummed a tune her mother had tried to teach her on the piano. She stopped humming as her trowel hit something hard under the dirt. Jumped in a tree, get a bare patch. Well, look. When a bear gets old, it lifts its arm to the sky and turns into a tree. And then when a tree gets really old, it crouches down, 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 and it turns into a little bear egg. And then a bear hatches out of it. And I think at some point humans can occur, but I'm not really sure. No one will tell me. She lifted the trowel out of the dirt, then poked it into the earth again. There's something fucking buried here, she thought. Maybe some kind of treasure. A voice inside her head told her it was most likely a root from the old dead tree, but she would soon find out. She dug around the hard spot, wiping the dirt away with her fingers. She tapped her trowel against it again. It clanged, metal against metal. Ooh, tree roots aren't normally metal. Yeah, the bear eggs eat a human. They don't have to, but they have to eat like an equivalent in like sapience. So they could eat half an octopus or 12 dogs. I don't know. A short while later, she pulled up a metal box. It had a heavy lock on it, but the box itself was so rusted the hinges had broken. Maybe it's 100-year-old. Elizabeth, her mother called from the kitchen door. Come in and wash up. Supper is ready. Elizabeth called back. Hold your fucking horses. I'll be there in a minute, mother. Oh, Elizabeth, be angry. The rusty box fascinated her. What is inside? Oh, wait, what the fuck is inside it? She wondered. Maybe it really is full of fucking treasure. Carefully, she lifted the rusty lid and peered inside. A coarse grey dust covered the bottom of the box. Elizabeth removed her gardening gloves and dipped her fingers into the dust. Oh, don't do that. She touched something solid and pulled it out. It was a round silver disc on a silver chain. A silver claw with 3 talons seemed to clutch the top of the disc. It was studded with 4 blue stones. On the back, Elizabeth saw the inscribed words, Dominatio per malum. Oh shit, what the fuck is this? What is it? Oh my god. Hey Nick, I'm glad you're here. We in New Zealand we curse from a very young age, and we do it a lot. Fucking Latin, Elizabeth thought. But she did not know what the words meant. Maybe Simon would know. What an odd fucking necklace, she thought. But I like it. She stood up, necklace in hand, and ran inside. I'm trying so hard not to use the C word, because the Americans overreact. Ridiculous. Her father, Samuel Fear, and her sister and brother, Kate and Simon, respectively, were already seated at the dining room table. It was a warm evening in late spring, but a fire burned in the old brick hearth. The house was very old. It had been in the Fear family for 100 years, ever since last chapter. Samuel Fear and his family lived prosperously there. Donatio per mallet, 1 Domino's pizza per mallet. Yeah, mallet's a good tool to use to eat Domino's pizza. Oh, fuck, I could actually eat a Domino's pizza. I could. Go wash your hands, Elizabeth, said her mother, Catherine. She was a plump, pretty, round-faced woman with light brown hair piled on top of her head. Elizabeth poured fresh water into the wash basin and rinsed off her hands, because they were covered with dead guy from 100 years ago. Her mother set a platter of sliced turkey on the table, adding, I wish you would not stay out in the garden so late, Elizabeth. It leaves you no time to change for supper. Yeah, I'm real fucking sorry, Mother, Elizabeth replied, returning to the table. She held up the silver disc. But look what I dug up, she said. Isn't that fucking weird? Kate gave the pendant a dismissive glance and said, It is ugly. Wash your hands. Kate was 17, a year older than Elizabeth. Sorry, I'm laughing because I'm Elizabeth, like a foul-mouthed middle-aged woman that I am. Kate's hair was a lighter shade of brown, and her eyes a lighter shade of blue than Elizabeth's, but they both had the same pale skin and full red lips. You fucking ugly, Ma. So, shut the fuck up. No, that was her sister Kate. Her mother's name is Catherine, which is going to be annoying. Their brother, Simon, who was 18, had a very tall, thin body with an angular face, thin lips, and black hair. His eyes, too, were black. Simon studied the pendant as Elizabeth dangled it before him. Where did you find it? He asked. Oh, in the backyard when I'm digging my new garden. I was buried under the old fucking apple tree. Samuel Fear touched the amulet lightly. I have never seen anything like it, he said. I wonder what it was doing buried there. Someone must have buried it for a reason. Maybe it should stay buried, Kate joked. Elizabeth ignored her sister's comment. Yeah, well, I fucking like it, she said. I'm going to wear it as a good luck charm. She draped the silver chain around her neck. Suddenly, her neck began to tingle. We've all bought jewellery that cheap, we know. Elizabeth shuddered and closed her eyes. They burned. When she opened her eyes, the dining room was gone and she was surrounded by fire. Hot flames licked at her long curls, at the hem of her dress. Fire singed her eyelashes. I feel faint, she thought. She shut her eyes again and prepared to be engulfed in flames. Danny, you can totally picture them with brown eyes and blue hair. That's your prerogative as the Imaginer. Chapter 20. Elizabeth, Elizabeth, what is the matter? Elizabeth heard the alarmed voices of her mother and father as the flames died away. She shook her head and opened her eyes. The fire disappeared. The room came into focus, as did the platter of turkey, her family. That's a bad comma. It implies the platter of turkey is her family. I like it, but it's a bad comma. Yes. Everything seemed normal. Elizabeth, what happened? Her mother asked. Elizabeth groped for a chair and sat down. It's fucking nothing, mother, really, she said. The flames were already fading from her memory. I just felt fucking faint for a minute. I'm all right now. You need something to eat, said Mrs. Fear. Ah, yeah, you're probably fucking right, said Elizabeth. I am very hungry. For the rest of the evening, Elizabeth felt fine, but still angry. There were no other strange incidents. I added angry. Soon she forgot all about the frightening sensation of fire. A few weeks later, the flowers in Elizabeth's garden were beginning to sprout, having eaten Ezra. As for the strange pendant she had found there, it was now her favourite piece of jewellery. She never took it off. The Fears were sitting down to supper on a warm June evening. Elizabeth was just passing a dish of fresh peas to Simon. Suddenly, they heard a knock at the door. Who could that be? Asked Mrs. Fear, filling their glasses with water. Yeah, I'll fucking answer it, said Elizabeth. She stood up and hurried to the door. There, in the fading light, stood a tall, ragged man. The sight of him startled Elizabeth. His broad-brimmed straw hat was caked with dirt and sat low over his gaunt face. His black jacket and trousers were faded and hung loose on his skeletal frame. His boots were worn thin. His eyes, hard and glittering, stared at the disc around Elizabeth's neck, but he said nothing. Oh, he must be a poor fucking drifter, Elizabeth said to herself, collecting her thoughts. But why does he not speak? Yeah, what the fuck do you want? She asked him. He raised his eyes from the pendant to Elizabeth's face. Then he moved his cracked lips. Please help me, he pleaded in a weak voice. I am hungry. Can you spare any food or water? As Elizabeth glanced back at her family's bountiful supper, the drifter added, I will gladly do a day's work in return for a meal. Mr. Fear came to the door and stood behind his daughter. Please come in, he said to the drifter. We were just sitting down to eat, and we have plenty to share. No ancient curse has touched our family yet. I don't know why I say that, as it is self-evident, but I hope it continues for a long time. Oh, it would be so great if everything was William Good, like it's just him always. Thank you, sir, said the drifter. He smiled through his dry lips and stepped inside. It's just the emphasis on them is weird. Elizabeth watched him sit down and take a plate of food. Oh, his hands are bony, she thought with pity. And he looks sick. That must be what makes his eyes glitter so. Poor man. First the drifter drank 2 full glasses of water. Then he began to eat, rapidly shoveling the food into his mouth. He said nothing until he had eaten every morsel on his plate. Elizabeth struggled not to stare at him as he gobbled up his food. Damn, she thought. I bet he goes down like a maniac. No, I don't think she thought that, actually. When he'd finished the first serving, Mrs. Fear took his plate and refilled it. The man thanked her very sincerely. Hey there, Delilah. It's like being William Good. We're 100 years away. Something, 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 something. Yeah, at any point they could have stopped, but they never do. My name is Franklin, he told them, but my friends call me Frank. I consider you all my friends now. All the Fears smiled. Yeah, I know that he's eaten a bit, Elizabeth thought. His eyes are warmer and his face is a bit fucking friendlier. To think that I was frightened of a sick, weak, hungry man. Do you live around here, Frank? Asked Mr. Fear. Frank shook his head. I have no home, he said. Not anymore. There was silence for a moment as Frank tore at a slice of bread with his teeth. I like to imagine he's not using his hands. I used to have a family, he continued. I was one of 7 brothers. We lived on a farm with my mother and father, but I lost them all, my whole family, and the farm too. I am alone in the world now. Let me be frank, because I am. Oh, he's unemployed and he has donkey brains. He spread a thick layer of honey on the bread. Now I roam around picking up work where I can find it, but sometimes there is no work to be had, and when there is no work, there is no food. Why don't you settle down somewhere? Mrs. Fear asked. I would, ma'am, Frank said. I certainly would. I would settle down anywhere on earth, if I had a good reason to. He lifted his gaze from his plate. Elizabeth felt a little shiver. He's fucking looking right at me, she thought. Frank wiped his mouth and pushed his chair back from the table. That was a delicious supper, he said, standing up. I thank you very kindly for it. Now I feel ready to do just about anything. You name the task, and I will do it for you. Oh no, Frank, Mrs. Fear protested. We would not think of making you work for your supper. We were glad we could help. How uncursed we all are. Nevertheless, ma'am, Frank said, I would feel better if I could do something for you. We do not need anything done, said Simon. But you could use a good hot bath, I bet. Oh no, said Frank, I could not trouble you. Simon knows he's not going to be the one fetching and carrying all that water. Oh, she's super horny. In the old days, it was so simple. Like, a guy shows up and you've never seen him before. Unlike all of the members of your family that you see every day, and like the goat that you have. And you're like, damn. I guess we're married now. But the Fears insisted, and Frank had to accept. While their mother cleaned up the supper dishes, Kate and Elizabeth got the wooden bathtub out of the pantry and set it on the kitchen floor. They boiled water and poured it into the tub. Then the women left the room so Frank could take a bath. Simon left a clean suit of clothes for him on a chair. Elizabeth paused at the door on her way out of the kitchen. She turned around just as Frank was taking off his dirty, tattered shirt. The movement of his arms made the muscles ripple through his back. Embarrassed, Elizabeth hurried out. She hoped Frank did not know that she had had a glimpse of his bare back. It was not a proper sight for a young lady. He had a tattoo of some people doing it. No, that's not in it. The coat that you have. What's that like to live conventionally? All the Fears waited for Frank by the fire in the parlour. Kate bent over her needlepoint and Elizabeth worked at her knitting. Kate's birthday was coming up, and Elizabeth had decided to knit a scarf for her. That's so gonna root. It's crazy. I don't remember exactly how this goes either, so it's quite fun. Elizabeth glanced up, startled by a noise at the parlour door. There stood Frank, fresh from his bath. Elizabeth had to stop herself from gasping out loud at the change in him. She realised that he was probably 10 years younger than she had thought at first, closer to 20 than 30. His face had taken on a new warmth now that he was clean, fed and rested. His hair was neatly combed, and Simon's borrowed clothes fit him elegantly. Oh, he's fucking handsome, Elizabeth realised. Very handsome. She suddenly became aware of the weight of the amulet hanging from her neck and the coolness of the metal against her skin. She held it in her palm and it grew warm. Frank says he's just a fucking drifter, Elizabeth thought as she watched him take a seat by the fire. But there's more to him than that. He did not tell us much about his family or say where he comes from, so who the fuck is he really? She would soon find out. Paragraph break. Sit. Frank leaned back against the cushioned chair by the fireplace, grinning at the Fear family gathered around him. They're all smiling at me, he thought. They are so welcoming to the poor, starving drifter into their home. They're being so kind and so good-hearted. They will take me in, he mused, and they will nurse me back to health. And as I get stronger, I'm going to help them out around the house and entertain their sweet daughters and their lonely son. Soon they'll begin to trust me, and before they know it, depend upon me. They will all love me, all 5 of them, like a brother and like a son. Frank warmed his hands over the crackling flames in the hearth. Mrs. Fear offered him a cup of hot coffee. It is beginning already, he thought. I can see the warmth shining in their eyes. They want to help me. They are beginning to love me. I will wait. I will wait until they all love me as much as they love one another. I will wait and endure it all. Just be very careful, be braced for this, because you're not going to be expecting it. Then I will turn on them. All shall love me and despair. Exactly. And that will make it all worthwhile. I will enjoy the shock and terror on their faces. It will make up for everything my family suffered at their hands and all the pain I have endured to find them. I, Franklin, the last of the goods. If you need to take a break here, like a cigarette break, or just to kind of do some breathing exercises because of how sharp that twist was, I understand, but I'm not going to indulge it. So chapter 21. Frank finished his coffee. Then he stood up, stretched, and smiled at the Fears. Thank you all for everything, he said. You were very kind. But you must be getting tired, and I'm keeping you up. I'll be moving on now, so you can go to sleep. You are leaving? Said Kate. Oh, fuck no, Elizabeth thought. He cannot leave. Not yet. Haven't fucking rooted him yet, have I? I've imposed on your hospitality long enough, Frank said modestly. You'd better be careful. If you are too kind, you will have ragged drifters like Franklin Good at your door every night. Mr. Fear chuckled at that. He put a hand on Frank's shoulder and said, We cannot let you go off into the night this way. You must spend the night here with us. I insist. Ah, Holly. Holly is a cat, if anyone doesn't know that. Although what else is going to sit on your knee purring? Fuck, I'm an idiot. Please, Frank, said Mrs. Fear. I will not get a wink of sleep if you leave now. I will worry about you all night. Well, Frank said, pretending to think it over. I would not want to interfere with your sleep, Mrs. Fear. I will be glad to stay. But just for tonight, and then I will be on my way. Fucking who fucking rah, Elizabeth thought to herself, secretly. He is staying. Mrs. Fear sent Elizabeth to get the guest room ready. Oh, he's so fucking brave, Elizabeth thought as she tucked a fresh linen sheet under the pillow. He's so strong and self-reliant. She paused, remembering the ripple of muscle she'd seen on his back. The memory gave her goosebumps. Goosebumps! Everybody drink. We didn't establish a rule, but, you know. Franklin, good, she thought. And then, she could not help herself. Mrs. Franklin, good. She turned the sound of it over in her mind. That is a nice name, Elizabeth thought. A very fucking nice name indeed. Elizabeth heard the heavy blows of an axe in the backyard as she made her way to the kitchen window to peer out. There was Frank, wearing Simon's work clothes, chopping wood. When he raised the axe above his head, the metal glinted in the sun. That's a warm fucking day, Elizabeth thought. Frank must be very thirsty. Yeah, no, he's not the one who's thirsty. So she poured a glass of cool water and took it to him. Ah, water, fire, it's so Mrs. Fiona charming, basically. Frank smiled at the sight of her. He gave the log one last blow and then set down the axe. He took the glass from Elizabeth's hand and drank down the water without a word. Then he returned the empty glass to her, saying, Thank you very much, Elizabeth. You must have read my mind. Yeah, I just thought you might be a bit fucking thirsty, that's all, she replied. Frank sat down on the pile of logs and gazed up into Elizabeth's face. She found herself blushing. Have you ever seen the sea, Elizabeth? He asked. She shook her head. No, I've never been out of this town. Well, I have been to Worcester once or twice, but it's fucking boring there. I don't even want to fucking kill myself. Someday soon, Elizabeth, you must see the ocean. If you have not seen it yourself, you cannot imagine it. It is so wild and so beautiful. On a clear day, the ocean is a dark blue-green colour that is so hard to describe. But your eyes... He stared intently at her face. Elizabeth's eyes were locked onto his. His gaze was hypnotic. What? She asked him. What about my eyes? Your eyes, Frank said. Your eyes are the only thing I've ever seen that are the same wild colour as the ocean. This is why you let your teenage girls interact with, you know, dickheads and fuckers. Elizabeth's heart fluttered. She had never heard anyone speak that way before. Oh, it's as if he's speaking directly through his heart, she thought. Through his heart and into my vagina. Added. It's implied. I'm just about finished chopping wood, Frank said. I would like to take a walk to look around. Would you do me the honour of accompanying me, Elizabeth? Oh, I'd fucking love to, she replied. Though I warn you, you will be disappointed. There's not fucking very much to see in this town. I'm not interested in towns anyway, said Frank. I would rather take a walk through the woods. I blame the parents, actually. She set the glass on top of a log. He offered her his arm, and she accepted it. They walked across the grass of the back lawn to the woods that stood at the very edge of the Fair property. The woods were magical that day. Rays of sunlight streamed through the tall pine trees, and the brown needles made a soft, fragrant carpet on the ground. Elizabeth led Frank to a clearing where two large flat stones sat side by side like chairs. Kate and Simon and I... Kate and Simon and I loved to play here when we were children, she explained. We used to pretend, right, this fucking clearing, it was a fucking throne room in a big fucking castle. Simon sit on that fucking big stone over there, and Kate on the wee smaller one. She sat down on the smaller rock, leaving the larger one to Frank. Simon was a fucking king and Kate was a queen. He usually had to be a fucking princess. Frank smiled and sat down on his rock. Elizabeth paused and listened. She heard only the rustling of the squirrels and the chirping of the birds. Chip, 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 chip. There were no people around, she felt sure. Still, she lowered her voice as she said, "Do you know, there's an old woman who lives in these woods. She hobbles through the fucking pines with a cane, all fucking stooped over. She's got white hair and she wears black clothes. Simon and Kate and I used to see her when we played in this very fucking spot. We used to fucking run if we saw her coming." "Why?" Elizabeth shrugged, feeling slightly ashamed. All the fucking kids were afraid of her. We called her Old Aggie. People said she was a fucking witch. "I'm sure they were just trying to frighten you," Frank said. "Your parents were probably hoping a story like that would keep you from wandering too far off. Like wandering into the woods with a stranger." "Evelyn, hello!" Basically, 100 years later, Samuel and Catherine Fear are some... are like just people. They've got a son called Simon and 2 daughters called Kate and Elizabeth. We are looking through Elizabeth's eyes as a mysterious young man shows up, Franklin, who does not reveal to them, but does to us, that his surname is Good, and that he means anything but good for the Fear family. Anyway, now Elizabeth's walking with him in the woods, and they found a clearing, and yeah. Your parents were probably hoping a story like that would keep you from wandering too far off." Elizabeth smiled. "Yeah, I suppose you're fucking right. Still, I always believed that Old Aggie really was a fucking witch. One boy I knew said if you got close enough, Aggie's cane turned into a live fucking snake." Elizabeth could not stop herself from shivering. "I often wonder if the old bitch is still alive." He really is named Franklin, yeah. After the famous Benjamin. "I'm sure she's not," Frank said in a comforting voice. She smiled. She felt safe with him there. A ray of sunlight fell on the silver pendant around Elizabeth's neck. She found the box with Ezra's ashes in it from the last chapter, and the Fear family amulet that says Dominatio per Malum, but she doesn't know what it means. She's been wearing it. Whatever. Frank reached for it. "Where did you get this necklace?" he asked. "It's a fucking weird piece of jewellery, is it not?" said Elizabeth. "I found it in our backyard. It was buried in a fucking rusty old fucking strongbox, along with a bunch of ashes." She does not add because she has not drawn any dots there. Frank studied the pendant, turning it over in his hand, rubbing his fingers over the blue jewels. "What do the words mean?" he asked her. "Do you know who it belonged to?" Elizabeth shook her head. "Nah, I don't know fucking anything about it, but I like it. I wear it for good luck." Yeah, she wants to get lucky. "The only thing that streamed was the light." Yeah, sunset and chill. Absolutely. Frank nodded absently and studied the amulet for another long minute. Elizabeth found it odd that he was so interested in her charm. Firstly, you're probably wearing the amulet around your neck, so, right above your breasts. Might make him a little bit interested. Secondly, he's a penniless drifter and you're wearing a silver amulet. I'm just saying. Oh, and also they have no, family tradition of the curse, so they actually don't know anything about it, the Fears. Obviously the Goods do, because Franklin comes alive. Frank seemed to read her thoughts. He let the amulet fall back against her chest and smiled at her. I don't know fucking anything, she said, giggling and twisting a pigtail around her finger. I'm so very fucking ignorant. I wouldn't even nag a man ever, because I just wouldn't know how. She has not thought it through. She hasn't thought anything through. This bitch is so thirsty. I'm curious about it, he said, indicating the amulet, because it belongs to you. I only hope that this good luck charm has the power to keep you safe. Someday you may need a real protector. The world is full of danger, Elizabeth. His eyes were shining as he said this, and Elizabeth's heart swelled at his words. Oh, he's fucking talking about himself, she thought happily. He wants to protect me. Could it be true? Could he really be falling in love with me? They strolled silently back to the house, arm in arm. Occasionally Elizabeth glanced at his face and found him watching her, a warm smile lighting up his face. Paragraph break, so we're in another little bit. And that dog followed me all the way to Boston, Frank said. That's the punchline. And all the Fears laughed. Elizabeth and her family were sitting around the supper table while Frank told them about his adventures. Elizabeth watched the rapt faces of her parents as they listened to Frank's stories. Oh, they fucking like him, she thought happily. She wanted them to approve of him. She had an idea in the back of her mind that they wanted her to marry someone with property and money. Frank was penniless. The fucking character's more important than fucking money, Elizabeth told herself. Surely mother and father can fucking see that. You're not much older than I am, Simon said wistfully, but you've seen and done so much. Simon's jealous, Elizabeth thought, suppressing a smile. She could not help being pleased at seeing her older brother humbled a bit. As the eldest Fear and the only boy, Simon sometimes acted as if he were a prince. Do not envy me, Simon, Frank said. If I still had a wonderful family like yours, I would never have left home. Frank's eyes paused on Elizabeth, and she smiled at him. He is talking about himself. He is the danger. Well, I guess there are other dangers. Walter White will be born eventually. What exactly happened to your family, Frank? Mrs. Fear asked. You've not told us. Frank set his fork and knife on his plate and wiped his mouth with his napkin. The Fears watched him, waiting to hear the tragic story he would tell. Little ghoulish. My family died mysteriously, Frank began. One by one. First my parents, then each of my brothers, until only I, the youngest, was left. They showed no sign of sickness, just died very suddenly, one at a time. I mean, he's one of 7 brothers. This is a fairy tale setup. I'm just assuming there's some kind of fae organized. They're kind of involved or something. Well, I mean, this is 100 years later, so I don't think Franklin was born yet. But yeah, where was his dad's dad? Mrs. Fear clucked her tongue, and Mr. Fear slowly shook his head. Each time someone died, we called the doctor, but he never knew what had happened. No one understood it. All the doctors were at a complete loss. Because we don't really have any medicine right now. Frank paused and took a breath. At any rate, the day came when I was the last good left. I was 12 years old. No one wanted to take me in for fear that they would catch whatever it was my family had. So I went off on my own. To this day, I wonder why I alone was spared. I am still waiting for the curse to come and strike me dead. Elizabeth felt her eyes fill with tears because she was very stupid. Oh, my poor Frank, she thought. She wished she could reach across the table to comfort him, but she knew her mother would think her too forward. She glanced at her sister Kate. Kate's eyes, too, were shining with tears, Her face glowed as she listened to Frank, hanging on his every word. Another shocking twist. Kate's expression made Elizabeth suddenly feel uncomfortable. Why the fuck was Kate gazing at Frank in that way? Elizabeth did not want to think about it, so she turned away. Soon she forgot about it, caught up in the story of Frank's first night alone. After supper, the family gathered in the parlour. Mrs. Fear sat at the piano and played. Simon and Frank began a game of chess. Elizabeth picked up her knitting needles, and Kate focused on her needlepoint. The fire crackled and sputtered. The gas lights hissed. The clock ticked on the mantel. It's 1843. And they're in... I don't know. You know what? We're going to leave it. Yeah, she wants to comfort him, but doesn't think her parents would approve. Elizabeth could not concentrate on the scarf she was knitting. She glanced over at Simon and Frank to be sure they were not paying attention to her, and then she leaned across the couch toward Kate. I like Frank very fucking much, she confided to her sister in a whisper. Don't you? Kate glanced up from her work, her eyes startled and wide. Her hands fidgeted nervously. Of course I like him, she whispered back. We all do. Why are you asking me this? I'm just making fucking conversation, replied Elizabeth. Kate seemed to be embarrassed, as if she'd been caught in a lie. She put down her needlepoint and left the room, her full skirts rustling as she walked. Remember, we're in the historical period. Flora, are you alive? She's lying very still. It's creeping me out. Flora. Oh, she's just doing it on purpose now. What are you doing? Flora. Whoops. Just threw my makeup sponge into the bin, but Flora twitched her ears, so she's alive. Hey, sweetie. Sorry I threw a sponge at you. I was scared. I thought you had been deaded. You got the dreaded deaded, but you didn't. Yeah, no, Flora's alive. Let's go. Let's carry on. Frank glanced up from the chess game when Kate left the room. She was just lying really still and not responding. I think she was, like, dreaming. She's on the memory foam mat that I bought for Veronica. So she loves it on there. So I think she was just having, a really good sleep. Flora, you gonna come up? See the people? She loves that mat. Frank glanced up from the chess game when Kate left the room. He forced himself not to look at Elizabeth. Instead, he turned his head toward the fire so she would not see the smirk on his face. Come here, sweetheart. Come and see your friends. They love you. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They love you. Your friends love you. Oh, I've got catnip spray here somewhere. I don't know, for a second I was just convinced she was dead. It was weird. I should probably try and sleep at night instead of not sleeping. And then I would have more better thoughts within. Want some? What's that? Come on. It's your nice thing. It's your catnip oil. There's a surface I can spray it on. This'll do. Come on. Normal cats like catnip oil on a treat, like on a toy or something, but Flora just likes me to spray it onto a surface so she can lick it all up. Yummy, yummy, yummy. It's so yummy. Come on, look, there's more. Oh, clever, clever. The only downside of doing it this way is that she's going to be pretty high and want to jump away pretty soon. Anyway, Flora's alive. This is going to be easier than I imagined, Franklin thought with satisfaction. Your move, Frank, said Simon. Frank tried to concentrate on the game. He could not let Simon beat him, not on the first game. He would let Simon take the third one, maybe. Simon was staring at the chess pieces with total concentration. A lock of black hair hung over his forehead. He is just a boy, Frank thought. He does not understand what is happening. It's not hard. The little horsey man can go 1, then 2, or 2, then 1. Guarantee Simon understands it. My plan is working, Simon, Frank told him in his mind. Your family likes me better with every passing day. Even you enjoy my company, do you not, Simon? Interesting. I am winning your trust, all of you. Soon you will believe anything I say. As soon as I have that perfect trust, I will act. I watched my brothers die one by one. You will soon know what that feels like, Simon. I will become your sister's only hope. Then I will watch them die, one by one. Frank slid his queen across the board. Checkmate, he said, grinning. And I think that's probably a good place to leave it for tonight. No. Say hello. Say hello before we stop. That's not hello, that's just screaming. Oh, okay. Alright. Hey, careful. There you go. Good girl. You got nice hands? Got nice polite hands? She did have nice polite hands before she jumped away. Sorry I was fucking around with the fringe so much. I keep going in my eyes. Yeah, she's a vocal little miss. So, yeah, thank you. Oh, yeah. Well, I can't remember what actually happened to Frank's family, but I feel like there's some kind of twisty thing there as well. I can't remember. So, yeah, I'm going to go and feed the cats. Aww, I'd love to say that she loves you too, but I'm not even sure she loves me sometimes. I'm going to go feed the cats, give Fitz the last of his antibiotics, which he's doing so well. He's doing amazing. And tomorrow we will pick up... Well, actually no, we've got D&D tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow we'll pick up again, or it will be Sunday, and thank you so much. Oh yeah, they all died one by one, that's right. Ugh. Silly of me. It's really fun reading this, and I'm probably gonna have to find another one afterwards. But we will do Bro Beowulf. Like I'm not forgetting about Bro Beowulf. I love it. Oh, thank you, Evelyn. I really need the sleep tonight. I hope I do it. I hope I do a sleep. Oh wow. I completely forgot that I did a American The Office Always Sunny in Philadelphia crossover thread this morning. That's funny. That's weird. I'm going to go read that and see what I said. Alright, have a good night. Be good to each other. Be good, and if you can't be good, be clever. Bye.